So I guess I just got done talking to Gavin Campbell, and it was a really great conversation. I said guess because it suddenly got cut off, and then I don't know what happened. It just kind of ended. But we talked for an hour, and I had no idea what to expect. This was sort of the first conversation where somebody just reached out to me to talk, and I just did a quick scan of their profile, and I was like, you know what, sure. But this conversation leaned, I would say, much more metaphysical or towards the realm of unique and strange flavors of conscious experience. We talked about things about like synchronicity and visualization and manifestation. And what's interesting about this is that like I want to be consistent, and I was really embracing and exploring all the concepts that, we were talking about metaphysics. But then in my conversation with Jim Rutt recently, I was like, I have a distaste in general for the word metaphysics. Even though I'm sort of exploring those ideas continuously in a way that I'm trying to keep them at least relatively on the ground. Because I would say part of the truth is that we engage with our own minds through the concept of belief and certainty. And by like manifestation or visualization or creating a potential future that you want to see in your future that actually is achievable, causes the brain to create thoughts over time that are connected to that. And you don't need metaphysics to explain that. That being said, when I've learned a lot of really interesting concepts from people who are interfacing through the world through this metaphysical lens, and also who have gained a lot of insight through taking psychedelics. So there was a lot of exploration of consciousness and synchronicity and sort of the little things that are somehow slightly beyond consciousness or like beyond the pale. So I mentioned things like the bicameral mind and similar things to, as I mentioned in my free will and flow video, about how the brain creates thoughts for you to react to. And like I had this theory that you basically have two selves. One is embodied self, that it views itself as whatever your name is. It's I. And then the other self is a disembodied self that generates thoughts for you to react to. And that disembodied self, because it can't really control what you do, and it can only control what you do through the generation of those thoughts, that it wants to be regarded in some equal or higher way. And that's why where gods come from, is that the identification of your brain, the non-embodied self, wanting to be viewed as something special or having some sort of power or control over you, the reactor to your own thoughts. And so it's like, I am God, name me God. And it's like just the brain, right? And then, so I also talked about like when engaging with that, I have to leave a little bit of uncertainty, even though my grounding and where I root myself is from sort of materialist neurobiology frame, right? That's where I ground from. But I'm constantly exploring the idea of holding either certainty or uncertainty in my mind about different things to create a little magic. Like the idea of not observing part of my brain and just allowing it to be. And then suddenly, I have a song fully written that comes out in one piece the next day. That's really exciting and interesting to me. As an artist, interfacing with my own brain to create things that feel sometimes fundamentally novel, it's very strange to describe what that process is like, and it definitely has this weird feeling of magic. But I like the fact that it's like, okay, I can talk to Jim and I can talk to Gavin, where they have very different views on metaphysics, and I can still have a reasonable and interesting conversation by exploring the language that they are using to interrelate with the world. We also talked about metaverse and augmented reality and, layers of extra information over reality, and very interesting things related to GPT-3 as a representation, or like being able to interact with. I don't think I can do that idea justice. I need to have another call with this person, because they are super cool. Have a lot of really interesting ideas. And, when I get too materialist, I get in a rut. Like, it's hard to go into flow and channel anything, right? Because channel is such a fucking abstract, ridiculous concept. Channeling what from where, I mean, the most reductionist lens is like, oh, my brain is just sort of a signal bus where it's like it's flowing together all of these signals into one space. You have the corpus callosum where all of these nerve endings are ending. So it's like two great waves flowing together to create the sensation of self. And there's all these really crazy things that happen when you sever the corpus callosum, which is sometimes done to deal with, I believe, epilepsy. And then there becomes essentially two embodied selves where, one part of the brain connects to one part of the body, the other part connects to the other part of the body. And so if they would interrelate with one eye or the other, that they would have different reactions to the same things. So if you cover one eye or something, or you place, I don't remember the exact of it, but you like ask them to write an answer versus ask them to say it in speech or something like that. And the different parts will, not only will they disagree, but they will confabulate the reasons for their explanations. They will make up reasons to make it make sense, which is crazy because that suggests that the unified self is also just making up stuff, confabulating to make things make sense, right? And that we are disconnected from some larger truth. So I was saying all that to mean like, there's these physical explanations of that, but at the same time, sometimes it feels like brand new meanings that are really not the sum of the parts are coming across. And there are definitely like downloads. We talked about downloads from that felt like the other side, where we just get a meme unrelated to anything we've been thinking about, but fully formed and very, very, very useful into our brains. It was very interesting. I found myself being a lot more vulnerable and like exposing like truer parts of myself than I normally would with a lot of people. And I felt comfortable to do that. Like there were moments where I was like, I can't believe I just said that. I don't know this person. I'm revealing very, very deep things about myself. But it just felt natural because there was something resonant in the way that we were viewing the world. And even though we're interfacing with the world through different ontologies and through different language. God, for years I complained about people using the word ontology because I didn't really know what it meant. And now that I know what it means, I'm using it. And I'm like, what about all the people who still don't know what that word means? We definitely talked about like these really complex ideas, trying to make them understandable by somebody who might not have the freedom or time to focus on just obsessing over the contents of their mind and self-development, So it was really great. I'm looking forward to the next one, and I think that you should definitely check out Gavin Campbell. Their Twitter is @GFRPAAC. So yeah, fun call, fun person. Our ideas are we're like exchanging ideas, and hopefully in both of our minds it'll create new ideas and new compressions of our knowledge that hopefully will be more connectable or connect to more minds, because we take these two representations that have some similarity, and then behind the scenes whatever the brain is doing through the activation of neurons and neural annealing, whatever the fuck that means. Yeah, bye.